Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to live an inspired and empowered life? Welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show. And today we will be talking about Emotional Intelligence 101 Part 2. Emotional intelligence is an essential key to creating an inspired and empowered life. You can also learn 3 principles of emotional intelligence, how to have emotional intelligence, and how it can change your life, and discover the number 1 mistake that would keep you from a life you love. We are live Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on W4WN.com and Talk4TV.com. And you can find podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, and Apple, and many more. I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker and intuitive breakthrough expert. And I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities, and yes, I can talk, and to transform your life and those around you, your clients, and all those that are in your family, your friends. We can make a difference in everybody's life just by being you. And the more that you learn emotional intelligence, the more you can change your life and those around you by being emotionally intelligent. And I want to welcome everyone in the house. Welcome, Allie. Welcome, Sandy. And glad to see you. Time change. Yes, we've had a time change in the U.S. So, what is emotional intelligence? So let me start off with what emotional intelligence is. And I'm going to give 5 different components of emotional intelligence. Now, I got this information from thinkpsych.com. The 5 components of emotional intelligence, the blog. And it was written by Aria Palmer, and these 5 components really make up emotional intelligence. And when I was looking for information to talk to you about it, I wanted to find information that really resonated with me. And when I read what she wrote, it really resonated with what I believe and what I teach clients and what I teach people. And so I wanted to share it with you. First, emotional intelligence is the ability to process your feelings in a healthy way rather than reacting in dysfunctional or destructive ways. That's from me. Now, the way she talks about the 5 components, there's self-awareness. Now, those of you who have been listening to the show, and if you're just joining in, I'm always talking about self-awareness. Self-awareness is key. It is so crucial in changing your life and making the discoveries that you need to make in order to have an inspired and empowered life. And she talks about self-awareness as being the understanding of one's emotions, thoughts, and intentions. And when one is self-aware, when they can pinpoint what they are feeling and why. And that's a lot of what I do on this show, is teach you about how to be able to understand your emotions, your thoughts, and why you're doing what you're doing, because that is crucial and key. And remember, this show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It's for educational purposes only. And then another component that Aria talks about is self-regulation, the capacity to manage one's behavior in various environments. One is managing themselves well when they avoid being overtaken by emotion and making poor choices. So, for example, a way that would happen, let's say you are really having a bad day and you're at work and you're trying to but you're feeling very teary, but you hold it together and you say you have an important meeting and you know that this meeting is really crucial for your work. And so you pull it together and you are able to regulate your emotions so that you are functioning effectively for the meeting and hopefully for the day at work ahead of you. And then when you come home, you can cry or you can allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. So learning how to self-regulate is really a crucial part of emotional intelligence. And good morning, Marie. Welcome. So another part, and she added this component in as compared to some of the other things that I read online, and I really agree with this component, and I'm all about this component. And as a social worker, when I learned how to counsel clients, we needed empathy. And empathy is a really, really important component of emotional intelligence. And the more empathy you have, the more you'll be able to value and understand the experiences of another. When one is empathetic, they can appreciate the perspective of others, and even when they differ from one's own. So it's really being able to understand, and not only what happens with empaths, because I work with a lot of empaths, they take on other people's, they feel the emotion so much, they take it on. Now that, and I'm going outside this is more intuition, it's learning how to regulate your emotions so that you're not taking on other people's, but you have enough empathy so that you're able to sense or feel what another is feeling or experiencing, but not taking it on. So that's an important component of emotional intelligence and empathy. Another important aspect of emotional intelligence is decision making. And this is crucial. It's the capacity to identify and make responsible choices. Good decision making involves taking action while understanding and accepting the outcome. And so it's important to learn how to make good decisions and to be able to make good decisions. So when you are really working on decision making, now a lot of what I do when I am working with people is you want to make effective decisions. And to me, this is coming from me, Nanci, not from Aria, that you want to make effective decisions with your intuition. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to help you to do that a little bit later in the show. And to make effective decisions, you want to align your head and your heart so that you're following your intuition. Because to me, that is going to be the best way to make your effective and most productive and highest good. And highest good is the most beneficial for you to make those decisions. And then the fifth component that Aria talks about is the social skills component. And social skills is the means required to build and maintain healthy connections with others. One is socially apt when they have the understanding of what it takes to create bonds with others and preserve them. So that means that you are able to really maintain, sustain your relationships. And I'm going to take it to another level. To me, having an inspired and empowered life and having that emotional intelligence is you want to move your relationships to an even more intimate and healthier level. And to do so, the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more you will be able to do that. So not only do you sustain relationships over time, but learning how to become more intimate is really a key to having an even more inspired and empowered life. And so last week I talked about the three principles. Now I'm doing some overview because I feel like in order to move forward, we need to have a little overview. And I wanted to go over emotional intelligence. And the 3 A's are the first principle that I talked about last week. And they are awareness. There's that word again, awareness, self-awareness, crucial and important. Because without awareness, change does not happen. You cannot create that inspired and empowered life unless you're aware of what needs to be changed. So awareness and having that self-awareness is a crucial component to be able to make the changes that you so want to make and having that emotional intelligence. And learning how to acknowledge the limiting beliefs, acknowledge the emotions that are keeping you from being able to have that emotional intelligence, keeping you from moving forward and keeping you from being able to be more effective and have more emotional intelligence. And then the third A is acceptance and compassion of self when there was trauma. Now, here's the thing. You don't always have to have trauma. You can have limiting beliefs and emotions that will keep you from having that emotional intelligence. And the more that you are self-accepting and self-caring and self-loving, that is really key to be able to really thrive, to have emotional intelligence and an inspired and empowered life. So if any of you in the chat room would like to ask any questions about anything that I said around emotional intelligence or anything that comes up for you when you think about emotional intelligence or the 3 A's, please feel free to type it in the chat. And really, it's really crucial and important to have that awareness, to really acknowledge your feelings and acknowledge your thoughts in order to be more emotionally intelligent. And also understand the why. What's going on for you? What's getting triggered? And I'm also going to talk more about that shortly as well. Now, the second principle that I talked about last week is the clearing principle. And clearing is all about clearing for the day and clearing for the deeper levels. Because in order to have really good emotional intelligence, you need to be clear, and to be clear not only what's coming up, to also clear the energy that keeps you from being able to feel more peaceful, more compassionate towards yourself, towards others, more loving towards yourself, towards others. So all of those are pieces to being able to have that emotional intelligence. And I talked about ways to clear your energy. On a day, on every day, you want to start your day in a positive way. So that could be journaling, it could be meditation, it could be exercise. There are many different ways to have that ability to really allow yourself to move through the day in a positive way and clear your energy. Now, clearing on the deeper level may involve hypnosis. Being a hypnotherapist, I love using hypnosis with clients. It may involve working with other techniques like emotional freedom technique, which is the tapping to be able to clear your energy. Emotional freedom technique is one of the ways you can use. There's emotional freedom, I can't think of the word. Anyway, it's a really, there are many ways to clear your emotions, because that is really important on a daily and on a deeper level. If you notice that you're consistently, and this is where the awareness comes in, if you're consistently feeling anxious or you're feeling depressed, having the awareness and saying to yourself, what do I need? What can I do? And that may be reaching out for support. You may need counseling, you may need coaching to be able to clear the energy to keep you moving forward in order for you to transform yourself, your life, and have more emotional intelligence and transform your life to be able to have that inspired and empowered life. Now, the third key is, and the third principle that I am going to share, which is today, is to learn how to respond rather than react. And I'm going to go deeper into that. So, what do I mean to take, and then learning how to make effective choices, decision making, taking action, and all of those pieces are crucial for emotional intelligence. So I'm going to break it down. So first of all, when you get triggered or when you're feeling an emotion, and let's say you're in a situation, I'll give you an example. I was talking to a friend, and we'll call her Suzanne. And Suzanne and I were talking, and Suzanne had a tone of voice. And as soon as that tone of voice, as soon as I heard it, I got really triggered and I started getting angry. Now, I have choice in that moment. If you react like, how dare you say that? I can't believe you did that. Don't talk to me in that tone of voice. That's a reaction. Okay? So, learning how to breathe, noticing, awareness, Oh, I'm getting really triggered by Suzanne's tone of voice. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. Breathe. What am I choosing to do in this instant? Am I going to, now, just having that thought process, taking a breath, taking almost a time out, giving yourself a delay, breathing so you don't react right away, is a way to have more emotional intelligence. And then making a choice. How are you going to respond? And so what I did with Suzanne is I wasn't exactly sure what was triggering me in that moment. I needed to process it. So what did I say to Suzanne was, what I said to her was, you know what? I am not feeling comfortable right now, and I need to just, let's visit this at another time. Let's come back to this conversation at a time when I'm more understanding of what I'm feeling triggered right now. And I don't want to react. And I will, let's schedule another time to talk about this. Now, Suzanne and I we're close friends. So this is something that I was able to let her know. If it's somebody that you're not close friends with, you could just say, breathe, notice that you're reacting, because you want to make sure that you don't go into the reactive mode. So you could say, you know what? Let's touch base about this at a later time. If you're on the phone, you could say, I'm giving you a call back. If you're in person and you notice you got triggered, maybe you could excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. The thing is you do not want to escalate. If there's something that's really triggering you, you don't want to escalate so that you end up with a confrontation that you will later regret. So I'm going to give you my quick Psych 101 to break down what happens when you get triggered, because this is really important for emotional intelligence. So your conscious mind is the part of you that decides on an emotional level or a mental level how to respond, that you're going to respond. That's emotional intelligence. And your conscious mind, you being aware, being conscious, you joining here today. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here. And then you making the decision is the conscious mind. When you react, when you get that instinctive reaction, that's your subconscious mind. And it's based on emotions, beliefs, thoughts, behaviors from the moment you were conceived to present time. And it can also include past lives and ancestral energy. And all that energy is in your subconscious mind. And so when you react, and very often it's a reaction from childhood. By the time you were 7, 10 years old, you gathered all these beliefs about yourself, about others, that need to be understood to have that emotional intelligence. And when you react, you're reacting from the space of that subconscious mind. Again, if there's any questions coming in, let me know. And so that's why it's really important to be able to learn how to respond rather than react. So does anybody have any examples or anything, maybe any challenges, or how do you, like, is there something you do that will keep you from going into the reaction that would be helpful for the viewers and the listeners to hear? So I welcome any information in the chat. And I also want to let you know, I told you that I was going to let you know that there was a way to help you with decision making. And I've created a meditation to help you make your best decisions. And it's called an intuitive decision making meditation. And so, Juan, can you post the link? It's go to inspired and empoweredliving.com/meditation. And this meditation will help you clear your energy, calm your energy down so that you can then connect more deeply to the higher parts of you, your higher self, that wise, unconditionally loving part. And then listen and ask for information and listen for a communication from your higher self or from your angels or guides or from anybody who can support you in making effective decisions. So if you go to inspired with a D, and empowered with an ED, living.com/meditation. So the intuitive decision making meditation, you can get that. It's complimentary and it's here to help support you in making your best decisions. And now back to, and again, the meditation can also help you understand. Like, one of the things that you can also learn is to ask, what was getting triggered for me? When taking an example of with the reaction that I had with Suzanne, what was getting triggered for me? And so I will share with you what was getting triggered for me was that when Suzanne had that tone of voice, it reminded me of my mother. And my mother would have a certain tone of voice. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, boom, I got triggered and I needed to calm myself down and realize that I needed to calm down before I responded to Suzanne, because I didn't want to have a fight. I wanted it to be a calm, effective, healthy, communicative conversation. And that's why I delayed it for a later time. And that's, you have a right. You don't have to react, or you don't owe anybody an answer in any moment. You have a right to say, give me some time. I need to process this. I need to meditate on it, or I'll get back to you. You have a right to do that. So we have a couple of things that came in. Allie says, I've realized during a recent crisis that I become very, very calm in the moment. Basically, don't allow myself to feel at that moment and save it for when I'm safe to break down. Actually, Allie, that's emotional intelligence. So I really want to acknowledge you for being able to do that and to be able to deal with what happens in the moment and to do problem solving. So yay for you. So thank you for sharing. And Marie says, I've been following your process with a breathing technique when I am triggered, and it really works with the one individual that triggers me every time. So much better. Oh, Marie, thank you so much for sharing that. So glad that process is helping you to be able to, again, using breath, calming yourself down. You don't have to react. You don't owe anybody an answer. And if they're demanding one, that's their stuff. It's not about you. Remember, they may be in reactive mode, but you don't have to react to their reaction. And that is the key to emotional intelligence. So it's not reacting to somebody else's reaction. What I coach clients to do is, if you know that you're both in a reactive mode and you can easily get into that confrontation and it can escalate and blow up, you don't want that. That's not emotional intelligence. What you do, even one of you, to say, okay, we need to separate right now. We need to take timeouts. I call it timeouts. And you can take a timeout for a few moments with the breath, a few minutes in the bathroom, or you may need a few days to process. Or, it depends on what the level of reaction and what's happening. You may need a few weeks. So ideally, it depends on who's triggering you, how much time you need, allowing yourself to be in the process. And know that you have a right and you deserve it. That's self-care. And Allie says, yay. Yay, Allie. Okay. And yay, Marie. I just really want to say yay. So now, before you take action, I call it inspired action. And you want to have that emotional intelligence. You want to be able to tune in to what's going to be the best decision for you. And what I call it is the decision for your highest and greatest good. And the decision for your highest and greatest good is really the one that you want to take action. So in order to do that, you need to learn how to respond, not react. And also, I want you to know that reaction can also happen to situations in your life. And I also want you to know we're all human. Okay, so when, like what Allie said, that she waits for a time where she can just break down and cry or just release the emotions, you need to be able to do that. That is really important for you to be able to do that. Because if you're holding it in all the time, that's not healthy either. So it's learning to balance the holding in with the letting go. When you have to function, emotional intelligence is being able to function in a healthy way in the moment. And it's also being able to give yourself that time to process through your emotions and go into breakdown. I call it, it came from a seminar that I did, or I know it's a saying, it's not mine, but I love it. It's called breakdown before breakthrough. And so there are plenty of times I go into breakdown before I go into breakthrough. And it's okay to allow yourself to cry, to feel, to express, to get angry. The key is that you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting anybody else, and you're not destroying in property or an environment. You're not hurting the environment. So, but learning to be able to contain yourself, that's the self-regulation, and then let it out when you need to. So that's all emotional intelligence. And to take action with the decision making. Because before you take an action, you're making a decision. And you want to make that decision from the highest place for your highest and greatest good. And what I mean by that is I believe the universe has your best interest. God, universe, higher power, whatever you choose to call it, has your best intentions for you. And you want to make sure that you are doing it from that highest and greatest good for you, because you deserve that. And so learning how to delay that reaction and understand what's creating that reaction, what from your childhood, and you could even ask yourself, what is getting triggered for me that's creating this reaction to this person, to the situation, to your health, to your finances, or like relationships, to your job. Suppose it's not necessarily a specific person, or a coworker. Suppose it's the job. And then you start to wonder, is it the job, or is this a reaction that I'm having? And sometimes what can happen is you can totally turn a position around for you by turning around what's being triggered. All of that is possible. And so whether it's a job, your finances, health, or a relationship, how you look at it, how you view it, and how you process through it will help you transform how you respond to it rather than react. Now, Sandy says, reel down before breakthrough. Love it. Oh, yeah. Been there plenty of times in the breakdown before breakthrough. And it's part of being human. It's part of being human and allowing yourself to just process through what you need to in order to be able to show up in a healthy way. And now, the number one mistake that would keep you from a life you love is not going deeper, not exploring those triggers. If you're listening to this show, and I want to thank you again for joining in, you, in your heart, you want to change, you want to transform, you want an inspired and empowered life. And so it's learning what the triggers are. It's going deeper and healing those deeper places within you, the traumas, the emotions, and the limiting beliefs that keep you stuck in the old places, that keep you reacting when you really don't want to react. And the number one mistake that you could make would be not to explore, not to go and understand yourself in a healthier way, to do the self-discovery, to have that self-awareness. Because both of those are really key and crucial components of self-love. When you love yourself, you are willing to go through the pain. And I'm not going to tell you it's an easy journey, but it's a journey of discovery, and it's an amazing journey of transformation, that you can transform your life as you learn emotional intelligence, as you learn the keys of what's being triggered for you, and going and taking a deeper dive to clear your energy, being in the journey is what counts. And being human, you're not always going to get it right. You're not always going to figure it out. You're not always going to have it perfect. If any of you are perfectionists, but being in the journey is what counts. It's what is the most important aspect of the transformation, is being in the journey and being willing to explore those places of reactions, those places where you get triggered. Because when you do, that's where the transformation can happen. And you can open to the possibilities of a new life when you're in it. And Marie says, a learning and healing process. You bet. It's a learning and healing process. And it's a journey. It's not a destination. Emotional intelligence, and I will say this, emotional intelligence, it's not like, oh, I've got it. I've got it covered for the rest of my life. It's a journey. And I will tell you that as you grow and change and heal and transform, your emotional intelligence gets better and better and better. And you are an unlimited being. You have the ability to keep expanding and growing and changing and transforming. And so you can keep getting better and better at having even better emotional intelligence. And so know that it is a journey of transformation. And it's the most important journey that you can take of self-discovery for yourself. So just to review, we talked about the first principle, which were the 3 A's, which is the awareness, the acknowledgement, and the acceptance. And then we talked about the second principle, which is the clearing. And it's clearing for the day and clearing on the deeper levels. And then the third principle is learning how to respond instead of react, learning how to make choice and being at choice, and learning how to cope and then make effective decisions so that you can take inspired action. And now join me next week for more inspired and empowered living. Next week's show, we're going to start talking about how to reduce your relationship stress. So we're going to talk more about how to deal with challenging and difficult relationships, especially around the holidays. So join me next week for more inspired and empowered living. We're live on Tuesdays, 11 a.m., w4wn.com and talk4tv.com. And you can find us past shows on iHeart, Spotify, Pandora, and Apple. And if you want to get that intuitive decision-making meditation, that complimentary decision-making meditation to make your best decisions, go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. And I wish you, I will actually say it again, inspired and empowered living.com/meditation. That's for the intuitive decision-making meditation. And I wish you an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody, and goodbye for now.